Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So if you're not tracking, the company Boeing is under a lot of scrutiny right now, and well, to be honest, for good reason. In today's video, I'm going to draw a lot of parallels and similarities between Toyota and Boeing in this particular video, and just kind of go through those details and dissect it with you and really see, in your opinion, is Toyota heading the same direction that Boeing finds itself now? Stick with me. Let's start with Toyota. Toyota is currently experiencing a lot of backlash, largely for the Toyota Tundra as well as the Toyota Tacoma that you see behind me here. So 2024, brand new Tacoma. In 2022, they issued the current generation of the Tundra. Both of these trucks have been pretty disappointing for Toyota enthusiasts at large. And right now, we're seeing a pretty large safety recall for the Tundra in particular. Over 100,000 units, to include some Lexus LXs that share the same engine, are experiencing engine failure. They're experiencing a loss of motive power, and that's because some debris was left in the engines during production, which is a pretty careless mistake coming out of Toyota, who's been in the game for decades and they have state-of-the-art facilities. But right now, pretty large safety recall for the Tundra. So people are losing that peace of mind that the Tundra has always given them in the years past. For the Tacoma in particular, a number of quality control issues, but most predominantly would be the transmission problems that it's experiencing right now. Howling transmissions, failing transmissions, popping in and out of gear. For the manual in particular, the clutch is experiencing issues, just failing ultimately or grenading itself, as we've seen from other YouTubers. So these two trucks, they've lost the confidence of your typical Toyota enthusiast, and rightfully so, especially when you tack on that price tag, right? That enormous price tag that the Toyota Tacoma now carries, as well as that Tundra. They priced their primary demographic out of the market, I would argue. This right here, 20 to 25% overpriced, or priced more than the previous generation, third generation Tacoma. So it cost 20 to 25% more compared to the 2023 model, which is the last generation of it. For the Tundra, you used to be able to buy the previous generation top trim level, well, TRD Pro, for $54,000 back in 2021. Now, just 1 year later, back in 2022, they upped it to $71,000, $72,000 for the same trim, that TRD Pro. So a huge price hike. And to add insult to injury, we are seeing Boeing do very similar things as Toyota is doing right now as well. They have moved production of the 2024 Toyota Tacoma entirely over to Mexico, where they pay pennies on the dollar compared to what they were paying laborers or workers within the US. They used to make the Tacoma down in San Antonio, Texas, but now entirely out of Mexico. So that's not an entirely new change. They've always kind of had them split 50-50 a little bit over the last few years, but now totally out of Mexico, where they pay workers down there $2.70 per hour, and they used to pay just under $16 an hour to an American worker. So they're saving over 80% of labor cost, but yet they price hiked this Tacoma up 20 to 25%. We see very similar things with Boeing. They're outsourcing so much right now, and well, that is a big piece of the scrutiny, big part of the reason why they're receiving so much scrutiny, I should say. You know, it's very reminiscent of what we are seeing recently from Boeing, right? We're seeing Boeing's 737 MAX 9 lose its passenger door or entry exit while in flight. So it detached while in flight, and that became a pretty big headline throughout the world. And because of that, they've seen no new orders for that 737 MAX 9, both last month as well as this previous month, both for the month of May and month of June. They didn't receive any new orders, and that's pretty telling. They've only received 4 new orders in the last month in general, and that's obviously not including any of the 737 in particular. We did have a whistleblower incident recently where an individual came forward from Boeing and highlighted some very crucial safety steps that were overlooked for the 777 and 787 Dreamliner jets. And well, magically that individual, he fell off the map. So, well, I should be careful how I say this too. If you don't see any more videos from me, come looking, I suppose. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be an end in sight for Boeing. They're under a ton of scrutiny right now, and rightfully so. They're seeing the CEO receive $33 million pay raises currently, which, of course, the public is not too thrilled to hear about that, especially when we see them outsourcing so much of the production of these jets to other countries, while they claim to keep at least 65% within the US here, keeping those jobs for Americans, which even that is partially debatable depending on where you look for it, of course. But this first quarter in 2024, they saw a $355 million loss. That's largely because that incident where the door flew off in flight, that happened back in January. So there was a halt in sales for that 737. They had to halt flights for that particular aircraft as well, meaning they had to pay those airlines that actually had purchased that before. For safety reasons, they had to ground them. So $355 million loss, and again, there's no end in sight, I would argue. So obviously, I'll say it before a lot of you take to the keyboard anyway. Of course, I'm comparing apples to oranges, I get it, but on purpose, right? Boeing is the giant in the aircraft manufacturing world, whereas Toyota has become the worldwide giant when it comes to automobiles, right? And other things, but mainly automobiles. $32 billion is what Boeing has lost in the last 5 years. Since 2019, $32 billion they've lost. Very few companies have made that huge of a loss in such a short amount of time. Now, when you look at Toyota, they have the largest debt in the entire world when it comes to an actual company. Outside of financial institutions, they have the largest debt of $242 billion. So, and when you look at it and you look at it on paper, it begins to make more sense, right? I mean, they're putting profits over people at this point. They're moving production to Mexico where they can save a ton on labor cost, then pump out these vehicles that are obviously not demonstrating that quality that we have gotten used to from Toyota and grown to expect from Toyota. But they're pumping them out, putting these high price tags on them because people have started to attach, that Toyota name to reliability and simplicity and affordability. We've always kind of done that. And well, now they're kind of leaning on their lineage a little bit too much. They're resting on their accolades, I would argue, at this point, because they've hiked up the price too high, and they are providing a lesser quality product. And that's definitely a concern. When you look at Boeing, they have a $40.4 billion debt right now. And that is increasingly getting more each and every year. When you look at the price tags of any one of these Tacomas on the lot, there's a few here, a couple more out front, a handful of Tundras all lined up there that's consistently there. But when you look at any one of them, they're right around $49,000, almost $50,000. I haven't looked at this one yet, but it's going to be right there. So yeah, we are right under 50 grand for this Tacoma TRD Sport. This just last year in the previous generation for the third generation Tacoma was easily $41,000, maybe $39,000 for a TRD Sport. Thankfully, the small glimmer of hope is we are now seeing a lot of dealerships across the nation drop these prices because they have to, because they're not selling. They're just starting to stack up now. They're dropping these $5,000 off of MSRP pretty easily. I often share them on my Instagram story if you guys want to check that out. So, but $5 grand off, is that enough? I would still wager that we need to be right around 40,000, high 30s if this is going to make sense. We get a 4-banger underneath the hood that doesn't offer that same level of peace of mind that naturally aspirated V6 of the previous generation did. So tell me what you think about that. And now we're just seeing this across the nation, just a whole lineup of Tundras in particular. Tacomas are starting to catch up, but Tundras are just plaguing dealerships across the nation, largely because of that safety recall, right? I mean, people just are not buying them with confidence. As of right now, Toyota says the 2024s are not included in that recall. I would argue that they are, but they're going to wait to actually move some of their 24 inventory before it gets looped in. That's my personal opinion, guys, but tell me what you think. So this is sad though. This is sad for me to see this, and largely the bulk of these Tundras here, they're teetering right around $70,000. 70 grand. Is that just, I hate that is that the normal now? I hate that has become the normal, and well, quite frankly, it clearly isn't, because people are not buying these. They're stacking up at dealerships. Dealerships are being forced to drop the prices $8,000 to $10,000 off of MSRP. I often share and I talk about it in some of my other videos, but 8 to 10 grand off of MSRP, just like that. When in Toyota's history have they ever done that, drop that price? But a lot of you guys, you come up on mic in the comments and say, well, dropping 10 grand off of a truck that's overpriced by 20 to 30,000 doesn't really do us much good. And I think that's a good point, and I definitely agree with you guys. So here you have it, a whole lineup of Tundras and a whole lineup of Tacomas, largely across the nation right now. So what do you think? And what does it take for you to actually consider one of these right now, especially with the engine failures happening left and right? Pretty pathetic. So much like Boeing, much like Toyota, whenever you kind of start to let greed seep in and let money drive things more than actually providing a quality product, when you start shortcutting things and you start skipping safety standards, that's when it becomes a huge issue, right? And we see it right here, unfortunately. So I believe Toyota and Boeing need to maybe go back to the drawing board, stop paying the CEO so much, for the record, for Boeing in particular, and really just kind of realize what made the company great in the first place, and that's providing a quality product made by Americans, for the most part, Boeing in particular, and stick to those core values. Stick to those core values of putting out a quality product that we can stand behind and be proud of as a nation. So guys, I know I kind of poke at Toyota a lot, right? And some of you don't like it, and I get it. I understand that. But please know that I do truly love Toyota. In fact, I have a brand new 2024 awaiting me in that dealership right now. I'll be picking it up here within the next week or two. So I do love Toyota, but I don't love the new generations of Toyota that are coming out. I don't love that they've deviated so far away from their philosophy. I get it, they have a new CEO, so Mr. Toyota is no longer the guy. And well, it's starting to be abundantly clear that that's the case. Toyota, much like Boeing, they chase these credits. They chase these, for Toyota in particular, these carbon credits or green credits, where they lessen or make the displacement of these motors smaller, and they hybridize their platforms because they get those green energy credits from the government subsidies, right? And oftentimes that's just a huge indicator of a company chasing the mighty dollar. They're letting greed win over putting out a quality product that they've always been able to stand behind. So that's my personal thoughts on it. So guys, I'll wrap up this video. I do truly love Toyota. I hope they can make some positive changes as we move forward. Get away from only pushing this down our throats, and maybe do their best to actually put out a quality product that we can have good peace of mind in, and maybe make it even a little bit more affordable. How about that? How about we can get some of those savings that Toyota's seeing for the Tacoma in particular when it comes to those labor costs. So I'll wrap up the video there, guys. Please let me know if you enjoy this type of content. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy digging into it and looking through all the details. You know, this does coincide with my passion, my education. I have a doctorate in organizational psychology, industrial and organizational psychology. So this is the kind of stuff that I do enjoy digging into. So let me know if you enjoy it. As always, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. Until next time.